Welcome to this webinar hosted by OiS&x and Fourlane on the topic of having problems managing your inventory using QuickBooks. Talk to an expert. But before we get started, let's learn a little bit more about our speakers. Our speakers today are Lori Walsh and Frank Monterrosa. Lori Walsh is a Fourlane partner and QuickBooks expert, which will be answering the frequently asked questions we've received from OIS customers who need help managing their inventory in QuickBooks Desktop and online. A little bit more about Lori. Lori works with customers from many different industries, including e-commerce, manufacturing, and retail. She has more than 30 years experience in accounting and management, with a master's in business administration from Ashford University. Lori is an Inuit Certified Pro Advisor with advanced certifications in QuickBooks Enterprise and QuickBooks Time. Frank Monterrosa is her co-host today. He is the OIS Product Specialist who will be assisting Lori in asking the frequently asked questions and any additional questions that come up during the webinar regarding our OIS mobile solutions and integrations with QuickBooks. A little bit more about Frank. Frank graduated with honors and earned his bachelor's in marketing and advertising. He has participated in many leadership and entrepreneurship courses with more than 15 years of experience in customer service, marketing, and sales. Currently, he manages the US and Latin American markets for OiS&x. In this video, we will be reviewing the frequently asked question, how do I know how much money and inventory/quantity I have at the warehouse?
How do I know how much money and inventory I have in the warehouse? Is this doable on the desktop, on the online?
Yes, so on the desktop version, what you see here in the image is actually we can choose. So this is our inventory valuation summary, right, where it shows how much we have on hand, what the, which is our count, plus it also will evaluate what the dollar value is there, but we can limit, we can actually drill in and separate it out by a physical location or maybe even more than one. But when you're looking at it, so let's say I have where they're taking the product on a truck. I need to know how much is on that truck, right? So, and sometimes we have to place orders so that each truck stays with that same amount of inventory. This allows us to see what the value is on the truck, how much they actually have, as long as when we're doing our invoices, right, that we're actually pulling from the right location.
I see. So that means, Lori, that I can have my DSD, my truck drivers, and assign it specifically, I would say, virtual warehouse to that truck driver and keep the inventory under that site. Is that doable in QuickBooks Desktop or the
Yes.
online as well? No,
well,
the
if they, yeah, if they're using, like I said, if again, we can work through things, but let's say that they're using an application to help with the inventory and that application has the multiple sites, they can do the same thing. But this one right here is what's in the desktop. And we have worked with clients where they do keep a set amount of inventory in each truck, and they need to know when to replace that inventory because it got used. And instead of having to go through what did I sell today, right? If we're utilizing the sites, then it will actually, we can pull the report up and it will show what they currently have. And then we can place orders accordingly for those individual sites if we need to.
Okay, definitely. Look, keeping a lot of inventory in the warehouse is so expensive. Nowadays, it's even more. So that's why this question is so critical. Nowadays, we see, how larger companies focus on keeping the least amount of inventory without affecting supplying customer with the product. So I have this question that is always in my mind. How often do you suggest doing physical inventory counts so that this report has a real information? Because remember, this is where my money is, and if I don't have the right information right there, it's not going to make any sense for the business owner. So how often do you suggest to do physical inventory?
So one of those factors is going to be if we are finding that our inventory is off a lot, we're probably going to need to do them more often, but we also need to identify why the inventory is off. If we are doing the transactions in the system real time and they're accurate, our inventory in QuickBooks should be accurate, right? It should match. So if they're coming up where they're off a lot, we're going to go in and look to see what their processes are, because something's broken most often. QuickBooks Desktop has cycle counts. And so I always recommend to my clients to do those. We used to, in my prior life, before Fourlane, we used to do cycle counts regularly. One, it gives people something to do when they're if they're having some downtime, but it allows us to double check and make sure our counts are accurate, right? So it gives us some confidence in the numbers that we're seeing in the system versus what is real.
I see. Hey, look, in the scenarios that I have truck drivers, that each of the truck driver is a virtual warehouse. So in that cases, the physical inventory that I'm going to be doing for each of the truck, it could be daily, weekly, based on how often they're going out. But in that case, what is the easiest way to do the physical inventory? Through an Excel import? Is there any complement in QuickBooks to do like within a scanner or something like that, or an Excel sheet import would be the best way of doing it?
QuickBooks Desktop does have this barcoding and scanning capabilities, and there's a couple of things you can do. You can just do the standard barcode scan, or there's like a site order fulfillment option for the purchasing side as well as the sales side that you can use those. I'm not a fan of entering a bunch of stuff in a spreadsheet and importing if there's a way to do it, with the system. Now, we can import them in. There are usually tools that you're going to need to do that, but there are definitely ways to bring them in if we need to. But if we can do the barcoding, that's what I would start with.
And that's something that could be handled in a different version of the desktop, QuickBooks Desktop, or is it specifically in a version of the desktop?
Yeah, so in Enterprise has the barcoding and the barcode wizard in there. So we can set that up, and you can print the barcodes off in Enterprise also, so that as long as you have the right scanner and the right barcode printer, you can use those.